Hello everyone and welcome back to the Formula Virtual Racing GT7 League. We're here for Season 3, Round 4 at the Fuji International Speedway. My name's Nathan, your commentator for this evening and driver on the grid. We're about to go through the starting grid for how these drivers fared in the 10-minute qualifying session before the race. And so without further ado, let's introduce the 12 drivers that line up on tonight's grid. Don't worry, there are drivers on the grid. We're at the back of the grid facing the final corner, which is why you cannot see the driver starting in 13th, because there are no drivers starting in 13th. On the left-hand side of your screen, we've got Kino in the Nissan making his replacement debut tonight. He's at the back of the pack, just a second and a half off pole position. In front of him in 11th place is Cameron Hill. He starts 11th place, qualifying in that Lexus just behind Xavier Maynard, who makes his way inside the top 10, just second and a half off pole position, once again closely followed by another replacement driver in Dylan McClements. He starts in 9th place in the BMW. Just in front of him on the 4th row of the grid is Evan Dalton in that Irish themed Mercedes AMG. And he's got a BCR car behind him and a BCR car in front of him. It's James Kidwell in 7th place, 8/10 off pole position. Just ahead of him is Maurizio Veldhuis in the other Lexus. He starts in 6th place, just behind Vesta Gobardi in the Genesis. He starts 5th, only 4.5 off pole position. It's the first of the Squadra Italia cars that lock out the second row of the grid. It's Pierre in 4th place, only 0.05 quicker than Vesta Gobardi. And it's the other Italian manufacturer of myself in the Lamborghini, starting 3rd place. The front row of the grid, they're no strangers to these positions. It's the Porsche of Ate Timgren, who was 0.2 off pole, starting 2nd, and the pole sitter Jenson Taylor in that green and black Lexus starts this race on pole position, and that is how our grid lines up for this race. Our 12 drivers here at Fuji. Top 10 separated by a second, the whole grid by a second and a half. There are very close margins between the intervals from the qualifying sessions, so it should be a very interesting race. Because we've got no qualifying to test this, I'm just going to make sure that the audio is working okay, and I haven't gone through the grid in mute, which I've done before. So apologies, guys. Just bear with me for 2 seconds. But I think we are good to go. Unlike my laptop that decided to crash as I started the stream. So I will be trying to get the statistics up for you, ladies and gentlemen, throughout this race. So the starts might be a little bit poor in terms of your useful information about the championship standings and some fun facts about this circuit, but I assure you it will get better as the stream goes on. So without further ado, I think it's time to get the race underway. I have everything set up, or starting to get set up. And let's dive straight into it. 28 laps of the Fuji International Speedway, 4.5 kilometers, 12 drivers, and we go racing here in Fuji. And it's a great start from Piero, as usual, in the Ferrari. Jenson gets away well. It's the Squadra Italia cars up to 2nd and 3rd. Ate's dropped down to 4th, going in towards turn 1. There's a Mercedes late on the brakes, and for the second time in a row, Nathan's gone off the track and wide through turn 1, nearly rejoins in the path of James Kidwell and drops down to 8th place from the start. That's Evan side by side with Maurizio for 6th place as the Lexus goes wide and off the track. James might try and follow him through, but Evan forces his way down the inside and up into 5th place. A great start from the Irishman that started down in, I think, 8th place. Maurizio and James going side by side for 6th place as Vesta Gobardi's had a great start from 5th up to 2nd. He's made 3 positions halfway through the opening lap. Up in front though, Vesta's having to defend from Pierre. That's James down the inside of Maurizio. as it's a little bit slow through the midfield. That's a Lamborghini trying to swoop its way around the outside. That's myself and Maurizio going side by side. James and Dylan, Zav and Dylan going side by side. It's 2x2 like Noah's Ark through turn 13. The Dutchman in the Lexus on the inside and maintains 7th place. Another bad start for Nathan. He's dropped 5 positions in the opening lap as they make their way through the final corner. Jenson Taylor leads the field away from pole position as he cheers himself on in the live chat to start lap 2 of 28 here at the Fuji Speedway. Avesta's under a bit of pressure from Piero, but that Ferrari lacks straight line speed, especially compared to the Genesis. Ate's hoping it's going to rain in this race. He's currently in 4th place. That's a lunge down the inside from Maurizio Veldwist. They're 3 wide through turn 1. Nathan Marriott on the inside. There's a bit of contact between the two as the Lamborghini tries to find a gap on the inside. James, though, sends one down the inside and towards turn 3. Just about gives Maurizio room on the outside to work with. But the Mercedes and the Lexus are going to continue to go side by side through 100R, turn 4 and 5. The Mercedes has the inside for turn 6. And look at Nathan Marriott in the background setting himself up for a good exit. James forces Maurizio wide and almost off the track. It's the Lamborghini now. Powers through on the outside of the Dutchman. An action-packed lap 1 going in towards Dunlop corner. James on the inside of Maurizio. We couldn't see the action because of the leaders going through the corner, but he's got himself up into 6th place. Nathan and Maurizio still going side by side as Xavier Maynard looks to try and get involved and capitalise on this squabbling for 6th place. He's currently in 9th. A little bit of contact, I think, between himself and Dylan McClements as Maurizio tries to go round the outside of myself through turn 15 as Dylan sends one down the inside of both Xavier and Maurizio. There's 2 positions in 1 corner perhaps for Dylan. He's stepping in tonight as a replacement driver, certainly getting his elbows out early in this 28 lap race. They're going to go side by side down the long start finish straight. I think it's a kilometre long, similar to that at the Shanghai International Circuit in China. Xavier going to try and make it 3 wide in towards turn 1. Late on the brakes, he goes down the inside of Dylan. He's not going to be late enough to go down the inside of Maurizio. I think that was someone running wide through turn 1. Kino in the Nissan GTR. But at the end of an opening 5 minutes to this race, Jensen leads from Vesta Gobardi. Ate's got himself up into 3rd place and knocks Piero off the podium in that Porsche 911, getting ahead of the Ferrari 458. Evans up into 5th place. James defending 6th place from myself. Zav running wide through turn 7, but just about kept it within the white lines not to be given a 5/10 penalty. As I think that was a move late on the brakes down the inside for Xavier Maynard. We couldn't quite see it with the camera angle, but a lovely late lunge up the inside, and he's got himself up into 8th place, but he's got a train of cars behind him that are waiting to capitalise on a mistake. Ate correcting me, saying it's 1.5 kilometres, which I think makes that longer than the one in Shanghai. James is wide through the final corner. That opens the door for myself to look down the inside, but not close enough to go for the move. Cameron's nearly lost the rear of the car through the final corner, as we saw in the background. Both these drivers on the medium tyres, as is I think everyone on the grid. But the Italian Lamborghini and the German Mercedes now run side by side, door to door, down the back straight, down the start finish straight. There's a Lexus on the inside of the Mercedes in the background. That's Nathan on the inside of James. Maurizio on the inside of Zav. Dylan's going to try and follow him through on the inside, but isn't quite close enough to go for that move. Xavier drops down into 8th. Both of the BCR cars losing a position down in towards the first corner. But Nathan recovering from that slow start and has gained a couple of positions since the lap 1 incident. That's Dylan looking for a move on the inside of Zav, potentially in towards the hairpin, but he's not quite close enough to send that M6 up into 9th place. Back up to the front runners, and it's Jensen leading Vesta, the top two drivers. Ate's got Piero for company in the 3rd and 4th place. And Evan Dalton has a train of cars approaching his rear wing. There's a lot of tyre screeching from that Mercedes as he has a snap of oversteer on the exit of turn 13. And the field, after 6.5 minutes of racing, are still very close together behind this Irish Mercedes AMG, as they form a single file train down the start-finish straight. Nathan's in a prime overtaking opportunity here, down and towards turn 1. We ride on board with the Lamborghini. You can see he's gaining and gaining on that Mercedes. He pulls over to the right-hand side of the circuit. It's late on the brakes, down the inside in the Lamborghini and up into 5th place behind. I think that was a car running wide as Xavier Maynard rejoining over the AstroTurf. He's gone too late in towards the first corner, and he's now dropped a couple of positions down into 10th place. And mistakes are even more costly when the field is so bunched up. There's a penalty for Cameron Hill in the background as well. That 5 of 28 here at Fuji. The leaders making their way through the Dunlop corner, the others making their way through 300R. And this battle for 5th place, meanwhile up to the top 3, and it's Ate continuing to lead Piero behind his teammate Avesta. Jensen leads the way, having started from pole position, but Avesta is the fastest driver out on the circuit at the minute. 1 minute 38.5 is the fastest lap of the race so far. But a reminder, we are on the medium compound tyres, and drivers will be making a pit stop later on for presumably the softs. We haven't seen much action from the hard compound tyres. They made their debut in the season opener, in fact, at the Circuit de Barcelona Catalunya, where Tyler Davison started on the hard compound tyres, managed to finish in a podium position with that one-stop strategy. Fuji as well is quite harsh on its tyres, a lot of long, open, high-speed corners, 100R specifically, and the final corner, turn 16, really punishing the left-hand tyres, specifically the fronts as well at this circuit. Cars that are kinder on its tyres might favour quite well tonight. The top 4, however, aren't too focused on tyre wear at this stage. They're building that a gap nicely to the drivers fighting for 5th place. It is still very close between, behind Evan Dalton in 6th place. Nathan's just about got himself a second gap to the cars behind to be safe from that slipstream train. And that poor cameraman on the curb there at the Dunlop corner, lucky not to get run over. But remember, the cameraman never dies, so I don't expect anyone to be using that part of the track. Evans ran wide through turn 14. That could leave him vulnerable to an attack from James down the start-finish straight. They're almost pushing each other through the final corner. That's a spin in the background for Kino in the Nissan GTR, and he's picked up front bumper damage to make matters worse for him. Look at the train of cars that make their way down the 1.5 kilometre start-finish straight. That's a new personal best for Nathan Marriott. Kevin Dalton's under pressure from James and Maurizio. They're 3 wide down the start-finish straight. Maurizio on the inside, Evan on the outside, and James is the filling in the middle as they make their way down in towards the apex of turn 1. And Maurizio's come out on that battle on top. But here comes Dylan McClements looking to try and capitalise on this. James and Maurizio are now side by side through the high-speed left-hander of turn 3. And it's the Dutchman that comes up on top. He started lap 7 in 8th place, and he finds himself in 6th. James, though, sends one back down the inside in towards the hairpin at turn 6. Maurizio's going to try the old up and under on him and get a good exit, and now runs side by side with the Brit through 300R, approaching the Dunlop corner. Rizzo defends the inside. Evan tries to look for a move late on the brakes round the outside. Dylan's going to try and capitalise on this as well and places BMW in interesting positions on the circuit to try and get that better exit and capitalise on a move through a door left open perhaps, but it was firmly shut by Evan. James in probably one of the most uncomfortable positions on a racetrack, attacking a car in front whilst defending from the car behind. Overtaking at Fuji is pretty easy unless you're spinning like Cameron down at turn 15, and that's twice in 2 laps that we've seen 2 drivers making mistakes at that tricky final sector. Maurizio was once the attacker, now he's the defender from the horde of cars behind him. Right on board from his rear wing, he defends the inside line. James goes left to the outside. Can he work it round the outside? Not on this occasion. Maurizio defends that position well. And this battling's allowing Nathan to pull away and for Xavier to catch up. The Brit running in 10th place just behind this battle. But it's Maurizio that leads James from Evan, Dylan and Xav. Is this 5-way fight for 6th place. Back up to the leaders though. Avesta's lost touch with Jenson Taylor, and he's got his teammate and mine right behind him. Going through the final sector. Back down to the battle for 6th place though. Maurizio defending in towards turn 10 from James. We've got 2 very close battles out on the circuit right now. We're going to focus on the battle for 2nd place because the teammates have swapped positions through the final corner. Ate's up into 2nd place and Avesta down to 3rd. Are they going to work together? You think they would. Bump drafting down the start-finish straight. We're on board with Avesta's Genesis. You can see on the dash that Ferrari behind. He's not gaining even in the slipstream is Piero. Going in towards the first corner, is there going to be a move on the inside? Not on this occasion. Our attention turns to the battle for 6th place. Does Maurizio go defensive into turn 1? Evan though looking for an attack in towards turn 1 on James. But the Brit survives another assault and maintains 7th place for now. Weaving behind the Lexus. Maybe trying to look for a move inside outside, indecisive perhaps in which way he wants to go about doing it. But this track does promote a great deal of overtaking. So if you get it down towards turn 1, you've then got to do a job and build a gap before you get to 300, otherwise you could be vulnerable to a move on the inside, and if you don't get a gap by the final corner, you've got a 1.5 kilometre straight to try and defend from that car behind in towards the first corner. It is a relatively long circuit, 4.5 kilometres, 1 minute 38 in lap time in these Group 3s at the minute. It's not the longest, not the shortest track we'll go to on the calendar. A mistake from Dylan though, and that's punished by Xav going up the inside and up into 9th place. But Dylan's going to try and fight this back on the inside. We ride on board with the BMW, but just tucks up behind that Mercedes for now. Gives him a little kiss down the start-finish straight, and will assist him in closing that gap back up to Evan Dalton. Maurizio covers the middle of the circuit. James now tries to go right round the outside once again. But a little bit of deja vu from the lap before. Or 2 laps before, I should add. Maurizio continues to defend 6th place for now. Back up to the top of the grid. Jensen's got himself a nice breathable gap to the car behind. Our current championship leader and reigning world champion. I feel like I've always got to keep one eye on this monumental battle for 6th place. 5 cars battling for the bottom end of the points. And we're approaching the halfway stage of the season, so every point is becoming more and more important for solidifying those spots in the championship table, which is currently being led by the driver in second place. Has won every race of the season so far, picking up nearly maximum points along the way. He's just missed out on one fastest lap last time out at Mount Panorama. I can't quite remember if he got the fastest lap in the Road Atlanta sprint, but he certainly won the race there after a close battle with Maurizio Beltwis. But going in towards turn one, it's the two Spider GT drivers that lead the Squadra Italia car of Piero in fourth, and Nathan Marriott going through turn one in fifth for the other Squadra Italia team. Two constructors scoring some solid points tonight. In fact, we've got quite a few teammates that are running close to one another. The BCI driver is running in 7th and 9th place at the minute. I'm sure Zav would like to try and find his way past Evan Dalton, but as they are in a slipstream train and the main overtaking corner is turn one, that could prove quite difficult. You've got to really make up time in this middle and final sector to put yourself in the best seat for an overtake down towards turn one. Every other driver in this battle, though, is on their own. They don't have a teammate to act as a rear gunner or hold up the driver in front. But back up to the race leader, we haven't forgotten about him. 2 podiums in the last 2 races for Jensen, and I want to say 1 pole position last time out in Mount Panorama. Might have got pole at Road Atlanta. I think he did, actually. Trying to remember when I last updated these stats. But Jensen starts lap 12 and 28 in the lead of the race, having started on pole position. Vestia and Ate working together to try and pull out a gap to the car behind, that being Piero, who started this race in 4th place, finds himself in 4th place. Meanwhile, behind them is this battle for 6th place. Maurizio defends the inside once again. And for the 3rd time in this race, James unable to try and go right around the outside of him in towards turn one. He might have to get a bit creative if he's to find his way past that Lexus. Might have to be a move into another corner, or perhaps go even more aggressive to the inside at turn one. Really force Maurizio over to the right hand side of the circuit, or capitalise on a potential mistake. We'll have to wait and see how this unfolds on board with the Mercedes AMG. It's got a good view off the back of that Lexus. He's seen it for a number of laps now in this race. He could probably give him some paint and easel, could maybe draw out the back of that Lexus with every aerodynamic bit of detail and every sticker as well, but I'm sure he will find the next moment that opens up for him to find his way down the inside, or maybe round the outside. We'll have to wait and see. He's got a bit of a gap to Evan behind, so he doesn't need to worry about him too much. However, any mistake could promote an attack. Our race leader has changed because Jensen is into the pits and off of the medium tyres quite early on in this race, end of lap 12, starting lap 13. Lexus is into the pits, the tyres, the old tyres come off and the new tyres come on. We'll wait and see what tyres he goes onto in a minute. He's got 55 litres of fuel. He exits the pits in this battle. That's Zav down the inside of Evan Dalton, makes contact with the Irishman, and Evan's off the track. Rejoins nearly in the path of the former race leader. And as if this battle couldn't get any more spicy for 5th place, they just introduced the pole sitter on a brand new set of soft compound tyres. Is that Jensen Taylor committing to a 2-stop? He's down the inside of Dylan McClements through 180R, 100R? Can't quite know, it's 100R. And he's now trying to go round the outside of Xavier Maynard. The 2 green and black cars, one's a Lexus, one's a Mercedes. But both drivers are British on very different tyres. Jensen's going to try and work his way around the outside, use the grip that he has on those soft compound tyres. That's a beautiful overtake from the pole sitter, who's making light work of these cars. 3 overtakes in the last 5 or 6 corners. He's absolutely flying on those fresh soft compound tyres. If you just started watching, you'd think there were blue flags. That's how easy he made those overtakes look. Our championship leader then, Ate Timgren, takes the lead of the race with his Spider GT teammate Avesta Gobali closely behind in pursuit. So Spider GT 1-2, Squadra Italia 2-3. What did I say last lap about James having to go more aggressive to the inside? He's done it this time, late on the brakes, and that's the Brit up into 5th place. A great overtake from him, but he's got the pole sitter, Jensen Taylor, right behind him, and Maurizio Valtuis on a fresh set of soft compound tyres. How's Jensen going to navigate his way around this bit of traffic? He's going to go round the outside of Maurizio Valtuis. Is he going to go right round the outside of both of them? It's the outside of Maurizio, it's the inside of James. That's 2 cars, 2 corners, easy as you like, and he's up into 5th place. That was a brilliant overtake from Jensen. Overtake of the race. He's certainly got a couple of nominations in that category. James now defensive to the inside at turn 10. Maurizio trying to find his way through on the outside, but the Mercedes has him covered. Now if Tiger can stick with the back of Jensen through this technical final sector, he might struggle though on those very worn mediums. He could get a dose of slipstream down the start-finish straight to help him defend from Maurizio, but he's left the door wide open through the final corner. Dylan's got a 5/10 penalty in the background as well, so that'll promote Xavier Maynard up into the top 8. But here comes Maurizio Valtuis. We ride on board with the Lexus, and you can see that Mercedes on the left getting smaller and smaller as it goes out of shot as they go down the start-finish straight for the 15th time today. Maurizio on the inside. James was going to try and hold it right round the outside. Thought he might have tried the old up and under to get the run through turn 2 and turn 3, but just settles into 7th place for now, and that's Maurizio back up into 6th place. These guys fighting like their lives depend on it, and it's providing great racing action here at the Fuji Speedway. Track that was initially designed for a NASCAR style oval with only a couple of corners, has later been developed into the track that we know and love today in 2005. Significant changes to primarily the final sector were made. Spat a big Maurizio defends his way into the final sector. Oh, but that's a send up the inside from James Kidwell. I was not expecting that. Rather forces his way down the inside. It's a beautiful move, and Maurizio's going to repay the favour down towards turn 15. This is beautiful racing from these 2 drivers. James initially sending one down the inside, and then Maurizio said, if anything you can do, I can do better, and sends it down the inside at the next corner. But now they have a 1.5 kilometre straight to deal with, and you would think it's going to end the same way it's ended for the past 15 minutes. But these 2 are once again side by side, door to door, wheel to wheel, in towards turn 1. They're late on their brakes, and Maurizio gets himself back up into 6th place. I promise you that there are other cars out on the circuit, but there are 4 of them that are running very close together, that are providing lots of action on the track. The man on a mission, Jensen Taylor, though, has caught up to the back of the Squadra Italia Lamborghini. Does Nathan defend this position down and towards turn 10? Yes, he does. Goes defensive to the inside. How long can he keep Jensen behind as Maurizio goes defensive in towards turn 10 himself? As Jensen gets himself past that Lamborghini. But Jensen is the only driver to make a pit stop in this race. Nathan setting fairly consistent lap times on those mediums, if I do say so myself, as are the leaders. We should remind ourselves of this battle between the top three. Ate leading Avesta down towards turn 1, with Piero in third place, closely following them behind. But Piero's in a bit of a sticky situation here. He's got two drivers in front of them that aren't going to battle, being the Spider GT drivers. That's nothing against the Spider GT drivers. The point I'm making is that they're teammates and they're not going to want to lose time to each other fighting for a 1-2 when they have Jensen Taylor in fourth place, who was leading this race, on a two-stop strategy. But back down to the battle for sixth place. James Kidwell's got himself ahead of Maurizio Veltuis, but for how much longer? It seems they can't keep their positions for more than a lap. Is that poor defensive driving or great offensive driving? Because here's Maurizio down the inside in towards turn 6. Nearly hits the rear left of that Mercedes. But this 5-car battle for 6th place has been non-stop since the lights went out on the line. James now defending in towards turn 6, and Maurizio's going to go round the outside. What a beautiful move. Started by Jensen, finished by Maurizio. Two overtakes round the outside at turn 10. It's rare you see one done like that there. Once again, we go back up to the top three. Ate leads the field on lap 18 of 28, nearly 10 to go. A couple of position changes at the back because Evans now up into 7th place. He's gone down the inside of James, and now he's the one to attack Maurizio Veltuis. It seems like every time we turn the camera away, something happens. We need to get a camera like they do in other forms of motorsport. One main screen focused on this and another just in the corner watching the leaders, because there's a lot of action going on at turn 1. James is on the inside of Evan Dalton, Didn't on the outside as Xavier Maynard. They are 2x2, two BCR cars on the outside of turn 2, going in towards turn 3, and Didn't gains the position, Evan loses the position. But this train now being led by Maurizio Veltuis, as it so often has done for the majority of this race. The two Mercedes drivers, Evan and James, now side by side, door banging between the two. It's getting a little bit aggressive. James forces Evan over to the left hand side of the circuit as they approach the Dunlop corner. Once again, it's James ahead of Evan, ahead of Dylan, ahead of Zav. Racing action this season has just been nothing short of incredible. It's been non-stop for the whole 30 minutes we've been racing tonight. Both the Spider GT drivers are into the pits from the lead of this race, as is Piero, who follows him in at the end of lap 18. Jensen, of course, stays out for another lap, but we've got a couple of these midfield runners pitting as well. James comes into the pits, Evan follows him in. I thought Dylan was going to come into the pits for a second, but he decides to stay out, perhaps baiting maybe a couple of the drivers in front of him. It's soft compound tyres for Avesta and Piero. Ate as well, they come out in this train. So when 3 cars came into the pits, 3 cars rejoin this battle for 5th place. It seems like this battle for 5th is never going to end. The race leader, though, is he going to be stuck in traffic for long? He's going to try and work his way around the outside of Xavier Maynard through 100R. Jensen done it to Maurizio and James a couple of laps ago. Ate's done it once again, late on the brakes, and that's a beautiful move from our Flying Finn, who's up into 4th place, and using the fresh, soft compound tyres to his advantage. Piero as well has got himself ahead of Dylan McClements in 7th place. He needs to try and stick as close behind the Vestigabardi as he can as they clear this traffic. Is Jensen going to be into the pits this lap? He's staying out for another lap on those soft compound tyres, as am I. Maurizio though pulling over to the right hand side of the circuit. I think he's coming into the pits. Indeed he is. Ate making the most of the slipstream as he can. On board with the Vestigabardi, he pulls over to the left hand side of the circuit and is swiftly up into 4th place. A beautiful set of cars making their way down and towards turn 1. A rainbow of colours. Red, fluorescent yellowy, green, blue, green, whites, black, everything. This grid surely is beautiful. These drivers have done a great job with deliveries this season. There are certainly some stunners out on track at the minute, and some that are still in the garage. Drivers who aren't here tonight as well, who have made some absolutely beautiful liveries on their cars. Cameron is in 11th place. He's just been into the pits for a set of the soft compound tyres. He's had a quiet race towards the back. Remember, I should add as well for viewers who aren't so active in the Discord that Cameron has recently gone from the controller to the wheel for this season, and does take a little bit of time to get used to driving on a wheel. And he had that spin on the exit of turn 15 that has hindered his progress in this race, but isn't actually too far behind James, who has had a spin somewhere in the lap. Mr. Kidwell has been facing the wrong way because he's behind Dylan McClements and Evan Dalton. The top two are into the pits off of the softs and the mediums respectively. Now, if anything, that's worked better for Nathan than it has for Jensen, because that gap was smaller at the end of Jensen's second stint than it was the first. I'm not touching my controller. I don't know why it keeps doing that. Is it this button? No, see, it's not that button. The button I was pressing isn't the button to pause it. Anyway, we'll find out what button it is just so I don't accidentally press it again. It's just the TV director messing with me. The stream's gone too well so far. Maybe it's a message telling me that I need to take a break because my throat is absolutely killing me. Having consumed some water, we can let the commentary resume. Lap 21 of 28, the race has absolutely flown by, as have our leaders. The top two have got themselves a pretty comfortable gap, and I'd even include Piero in that category as well, but they have a hot charging Jensen Taylor in 4th place on a fresh set of soft compound tyres. Now, the tyre degradation around this circuit, especially on the softs, is quite high. You can only get 5 good laps out of them before they totally fall off the cliff on about lap 8 to 10, depending on your fuel load. And so Jensen being 3 lap fresher softs compared to the 3 cars in front of him might be enough to see him stand on a podium. On a podium? On the podium. There's only one podium here. But what step will it be? There's only one step he hasn't stepped on this season, and he's done 2 races. He started third, or finished third at Road Atlanta. And he finished second at Mount Panorama. Can he go one better and win this race in Fuji? We'll have to wait and see. Meanwhile, a couple of drivers find themselves now in no man's land. The pit window has really shuffled up the pack. Maurizio Veldhuis was defending for his life from half the grid at one point. He now finds himself comfortably in 6th place ahead of Evan. Battle for 8th place between Zav and Dylan is our closest battle out on track between two non-teammates. Although that gap out in front is also one to keep an eye on. If you're watching the stream live, or whether you're watching it on YouTube later on, let me know in the comments or the chat. Are you a fan of Fuji? And because I know that there's quite a love-hate relationship with this track. I know a lot of drivers who don't like the final sector, maybe because it's too complicated for them, too technical. They do not have the skill capacity to go through a couple of left and right-handed corners. I don't know, just a theory. But there are some drivers who do like this circuit. I, for one, am one who, if I see it on a calendar, I accept it. I don't hate it. I tend to have quite bad races at Fuji, whether it's a daily race, the Nations Cup, Manufacturers Cup, or a league race. But not having a too bad one here tonight. Jenson Taylor sets the fastest lap of the race, 1 minute 37.2. Can't remember what the pole time was, but I think we're getting fairly close to that. Back up to the top two though for this race. That's how he's finished on the podium 12 times before. He's on course to make it 13 podiums. I think it's 13 podiums, I just want to double check that stat. Nope, 17 podiums. I should have checked the stat before I said it. 17 no, I've never mind. Let's just jump off that train of thought and go back to something else. 5 laps to go in this race, and I don't think there is a high chance of it raining. The sun is shining and the track is alight. I'm not sure there are any clouds overhead to spice up the ending to this race. Vastodo is purple through the first sector. Meanwhile, Piero will be having to defend from Jenson in a couple of laps' time. Dylan and Xavier, though, going side by side in towards turn 1. The BMW on the inside of the Mercedes. That's going to try and hold it around the outside. But the door is firmly shut. And he drops into 9th place. And we missed this because it's a battle for the podium. We're going to see how Jenson got his way past Piero here on lap 24. We've got the cameraman on the curb again. And Jenson late on the brake sends it to the inside and up into for a 3rd place. You can see those brake discs on the Lexus roaring red as he applies the brakes. But to correct myself some earlier, 12 wins and 16 podiums for Ate Tim Grin. Can he go one better tonight? Jenson did get pole at Road Atlanta and Mount Panorama and here at Fuji, so he does have a 100% pole record in this season of FVR GT. The only driver to get more... The only driver to get... I don't know how to say... That didn't come out as smoothly as I was hoping to do, but he's the only driver to only qualify on pole. We'll go with that. He's done 3 races, and his average qualifying is first. That's pretty impressive, if you ask me. Of course, Callum Birch joined us in Season 1 for Spa, got pole in that race. Never to be seen again, and so we'll still stay in the stats as having a 100% pole record. You know, I've tried to when there's not been action on the track this evening, and that has been quite rare. I've tried to get the stats up because my computer crashed. I literally pressed start broadcast, and my computer went, "An error has occurred. We are restarting." And by that point, I was going, "Hello everyone, welcome to FVR GT." Speaking of, I've not had much time to talk about Formula 1. Make sure to tune in on a Saturday evening, 8 o'clock GMT, for the live action from Formula 1. Yesterday's race was held at the Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya, for the first sprint race of the season. If you haven't seen that race, go check it out on the YouTube channel. Next week we are racing... I should have checked the stats before once again, but we are racing somewhere in either Europe, Asia, North America, South America, or Oceania. But there are still spaces open, I believe, for a reserve driver role. Head over to the Discord and send your details into the FVR sign-up channel and get yourself on the grid for lots of action at Zandvoort next week. Very beautiful track, Zandvoort. Quite short circuits. A couple of banked corners along the coast of the Netherlands. As we cameraman got caught looking at the spectators in the car park there in towards turn 1. Not sure what or who they were looking at. Cameraman being caught napping there. But we're watching the top two. Ate Timgren leads his teammate, Bester Gobadi, and in the background you can see the ever-closing Jensen Taylor gaining and gaining and gaining on these two. It would have been interesting to see what this track would have been like in GT3s when they were racing around the 90s layout of this circuit. For those of you who aren't aware of how the track looked through in the 90s, the start-finish straight was cut short to around about, I would say... Oh no, I think it's the same length. But this corner was opened up. It was more of a double right-hander, like turn 1 and 2 at Baku, or like Motegi, a couple of corners at Motegi. This corner went more left here before turn 4. 100R was an extended hairpin. I think it went a little bit further up through the runoff area, and then there was a long swooping 300R went all the way round to Dunlop corner, and then the whole of the final sector was taken out. The final corner, there was a little almost bus stop like chicane here, and then a long swooping 180-degree corner from here to the final corner, completely cutting out this final technical sector. Would have been very interesting to see how these cars would have fared at that circuit. But of course it has changed a bit from 1965 when the circuit was first opened as a 6-kilometre circuit primarily built for NASCAR. That's Sylvester running wide through turn 1. Could he pick up a penalty? Yes, he has. Now then, there's a chance for Jensen Taylor to pick up a couple of points here on the final lap, or a couple more points. We had last lap drama last week at Mount Panorama. Not drama, action, I should say. There was no one crashed. But we're starting the final lap of this race. A race that was once led by Jenson Taylor, but the Brit committed to a 2-stop early on. Is that going to work for him? He can see the cars in front of him going through Sector 2. But Avesh has got a 5/10 penalty, and he's going to have to serve that on this final lap out the penalty gate, which is on the start-finish line. Can Jenson find himself within closing distance to try and capitalise on that penalty? It's going to be close. We could have another photo finish on our hands. Only a couple more corners for Ate Timgren, our current championship leader. He has been absolutely unstoppable all season. He started the season in Barcelona like he ended the last with a win and the fastest lap. He's never not stood on the top step of the podium this season. He's won 3 before, and his 4 from 4 for our flying Fiat wins the Fuji, the Japanese Grand Prix here at Fuji. Avesta holds on to second place from Jenson, just about over the line. Piero finishes in 4th, having started in 4th. Nathan recovers to 5th place after the lap 1 incident. We could have a drag race to the line in the background. Maurizio Valtris goes all the way over to the pit lane entrance to finish in 6th place. Evan Dalton though, can he defend 7th place from Dylan McClements and Xavier Maynard? It's going to be a photo finish up to the line, and Dylan just about misses out on 7th place. Look how close it was between those three. James Kidwell finishes, rounds out the top 10. Cameron has had a tricky race in 11th place. A couple of mistakes, getting used to driving on a wheel, and just misses out on some points in 11th place. Replacement driver Kino tonight finishes in 12th place after he as well has made just a couple of mistakes. But it's a punishing circuit, Fuji, one on its tyres, and very easy to make mistakes as the Dutchman crosses the line in 12th place. Let's get another replay of the start. Why not? But for this man, it's 4 from 4 for him. It's all the F's tonight. 4 from 4 for a flying Finn here at Fuji. Can anyone stop him this season? He's got 4 races, 4 wins, 5 to go. Is there a chance that this man wins every race this season? He's not been off the podium since season 1. He's currently on the longest streak of consecutive podium finishes. I wonder, will we ever see another driver standing on the top step of the podium in this dominant period of FVR GT? We will have to wait and see. Let's go for a nice picture on the start-finish straight of the race-winning car. We'll do one with all the cars, well, not all of them, but most of them behind him. There we go. Thank you everyone so much for watching this race here at Fuji, round number 4 of season 3. Ate Timgren wins once again, closely followed by his teammate Avesta Gobali. Good points for Spider GT and Squadra Italia as well in 4th and 5th place, scoring some good points for the team's championship. Ate extends his point in the championship standing in the drivers' championship standings to 40 odd points, but it's looking very close behind him. Only 20 points between Jenson Taylor in 2nd and Piero in 6th. Maurizio, Tyler and myself all take up 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 5th. And battles are heating up in the championship. Lots of close drivers close to each other on points. In terms of the constructors of the Teams Championship. Spider GT are appearing to run away with this one. They are nearly 50 points clear at the top from Squadra Italia in second place, and it's the Cabbage Crew in third. BCI Esports in fourth place, and UNEM in fifth. Only 5 constructors have actually scored points. We've had grids of mainly replacements this season, but that's all to change next week. We've got a couple of new teams that have recently formed, and we'll be scoring some points for that championship. Once again, thank you everyone for tuning in. I've been Nathan. I hope you guys have enjoyed this week of commentary. Make sure to tune in next week where we head over to America for the 1-hour endurance race at Daytona, where our drivers will be tackling the Daytona road course, not the oval, for 60 minutes of action. Make sure to like and subscribe. That'd be very much appreciated, and we'll see you next time for live action at the Netherlands for the FVR F1 series, where I will be on the grid hoping to get my first podium of the season. But it's a championship that I think Legend Rosenberg is leading. Actually, is that true? No, I don't think it is. I don't know. The standings haven't been updated. The race was only yesterday. Maybe Vesta's winning. No, I don't think he turned up in Vegas. No, he didn't score points in Vegas. Who could be winning? Maybe Luke's winning that championship, actually. I'm not too sure. I'm going to stop waffling. Goodbye, everyone.